PrimeXPT is the most powerful trading platform offering immediate access to over 30 assets. Trade cryptocurrencies, forex, commodities, stock indices, and much more, all from a single Bitcoin settled account. Visit the link below and start trading on PrimeXPT in minutes.
Birb Network is an interoperable DeFi ecosystem offering token pre-sales, staking as a service, project incubation, and much more. Visit thebirbnest.com/Birb. Globe is an upcoming crypto derivatives exchange offering up to 100 times leverage on crypto and DeFi perpetual contracts. Sign up for early rewards at thebirbnest.com/Globe. Radix is the first Layer 1 protocol built specifically to serve DeFi. More information at thebirbnest.com/Radix. YFDAI is democratizing finance by creating the most secure, transparent, and user-friendly ecosystem of DeFi products. To learn more, visit thebirbnest.com/YFDAI.
Okay, everybody. Welcome to another show of our 14-day free trading congress. And I had just hopped off of an amazing session with CryptoDog and Dr. Craves to talk about the sleep deprivation and health versus crypto. And right now, right this very time, we have another amazing guest for many reasons. And to start with, we are talking about James West, the Chief Executive Officer at Globe's Derivative Exchange. Globe Derivative Exchange, GlobeDX. Guys, what can I say? I've been watching Globe for quite some time already. I have seen the entire progress. I have seen their entire advanced steps towards making their product better, making the platform better. And today, I really want to talk to James about the very most important aspects that we as traders, that I as a trader, that we as traders using the Globe in future, on how we are going to make sure that we're going to make money at that, right? So this is my great pleasure and great honor to be hosting again James West, the CEO of Globe Derivatives Exchange. How is it going, James? How are you doing?
Good, thanks.
Very good. I'm very excited again because we've had some internal calls with between our teams. We've had so much going on. With communicating your amazing successes and in the overall development throughout the past months. And I really want to say that I'm very impressed. I'm very impressed because there's been a lot going on, and I really want to touch the base about the vision, like what the vision is for those who are new to your platform, like what people should know of your vision.
Yeah, I mean, so long view. This is kind of a continuation of what Markowitz was thinking about in the 1950s in modern portfolio theory. What is every investor's portfolio, every trader's portfolio going to look like in the long run? And back then, so little was unlocked, right? You could barely access any of the world's assets. You were paying crazy fees. You just couldn't really get to meaningful liquidity on most things. The answer is kind of a blend of all the world's different assets, which is something that we're kind of gradually unlocking, and then this sort of systematic part, which helps to build efficiencies across all the other assets. And, the first kind of, having a derivatives exchange that respects market integrity, that has, really deep liquidity that you can trust, and it's not going to screw you over, give you a butt cinch or whatever as a trader, starts to unlock that systematic part of the portfolio. And adding crypto assets in lets you take natural long positions across the other parts. And that's something that we're kind of continuing to unlock. In the shorter term, there are just really big market integrity problems across the industry. There's a lot of exchanges with their own internal desks. That's normally just straight up illegal. Sometimes the internal desk says it's a different company, but it's the same people in the same room, which to me isn't the same company. And that's something that we need to fix. And that's something that as a trader, you should be very scared about, because, they know where your stops are and they know what to do to bankrupt you if they want to. And so, we've published articles on this. We've worked a little bit on trying to reduce market manipulation. We operate a platform where that's just not the case. And that has attracted a lot of really high quality market making partners to us. I think probably everyone saw the 3 Arrows announcement earlier today, which kind of marks a little bit our push into volatility. And the other sort of 20 or so market makers that are kind of in our partners list. I think right now we're also in a period where it's very easy for people that are kind of born rich to stay rich. And what a real crypto exchange exists to do is to serve its community, right? They need to earnestly endeavor to help people to build their finances and give them financial freedom. And a lot of exchanges are not thinking that way. And I think that's one of the other big things we bring to the table, beyond unlocking alpha, beyond unlocking proper algorithmic strategy, and beyond building market integrity.
That sounds good, because the overall approach that many exchanges, many players in the space would have is that especially from the centralized point of view, is that if people want something from us, they have to accept the way we are, right? Well,
Right.
The truth is that right now, as we grow, as we proceed, as the entire space, there is a thing that if you are not adjusted to the people, if you are not really crafting a product that is perfectly what people want and demand, then there is quite a big chance that there is going to be somebody else of competition who is going to actually take over all those clients. Isn't that right?
Yeah, I think that's fair. One thing we say a lot is our biggest strength is that we actually listen to our community. We have a Telegram group right now with about 27,000 people in it who ping me ideas and requests all the time. A lot of the stuff we just do on the same day. Often it's just very vanilla things. Someone says, "Hey, I want a button here which helps me to get out of a position." Like quickly, it's annoying the way I might otherwise have to do it. Can you add that? Well, that's a good idea. Let's do that. And someone's like, "Okay, I want to just have a nice little thing on my price chart, and I can move it around, and I can just long, short here, and I can just helps me to visualize what's happening in the market, and it helps me to make better trading decisions." And that's the kind of thing, like 1 or 2 days we get that done. And yes, there are other exchanges out there, but they, as you say, they start to lag behind if they don't listen to their communities, and they start to have a shit product, frankly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very right. What actually happens right now is, from my trading point of view, is I naturally use a lot of DEXs as well. I usually do use the centralized exchanges such as Uniswap, or Pancake Swap and whatever. The truth is that the fees right now are barely,
Yeah,
they're unbearable.
Today is a great advert against using decentralized finance, right? It has a place and it solves great problems. So if you look at that long tail, right, all these coins that no one's really heard of, and it just gives them a permissionless way of having your coin out there and getting a start in crypto. That's really crucial, that functions and that there's price discovery on those tokens. And that we don't just have a system where centralized exchanges are the gatekeeper of what is and is not a valid project. I don't think we should ever be in that position. But sometimes decentralized finance just doesn't work, right? It's early stages. It can never really have great performance, and it really struggles to have great pricing. And so there's a domain for centralized finance where it just does it much better, and that domain may shift over time. But right now, we're clearly still in a regime where, by and large, for derivatives trading, centralized exchange is the place to be, for example.
Yeah, that is also very right for many other reasons. Well, just to name a few, we are talking about the chances of manipulations going on, right? Because if you're owning quite a big liquidity pool, then we could see lots of those pump and dumps really happening on those decentralized exchanges. Also, for the reason that there's not so much of regulations. Everybody, every project can actually just go and apply in there, right? And what do you end up with from a trading point of view is having a lot of those rug pulls, a lot of those very sad cases that
they don't always know how the pool works. And sometimes there's just 1 or 2 really huge whales that are controlling the price in that pool, and they can move it for you, and you just don't have that kind of protection.
Exactly. This lack of this protection layer is what I want to also discuss, because from the safety point of view, this protection, for me as a trader, it's very important so that I know that I don't trade against the exchange, if you know what I mean, right? So that I trade against the other people, and the exchange is there just to transact this. So is it really the case, like outside Globe, of course, that there's so much of the exchange's manipulation that you're actually trading against the fake liquidity, against the algos, against the bots, against the exchange itself? Is it really the case?
Yeah, I mean, you go have a look at the SEC deposition against BitMEX, right? Page 2, page 3, it details if you're a smart trader on those kinds of exchanges, they're spotting your trades. They put their own little trade in to front run you, and then you're losing out because you're hitting second, and the slippage is happening before you even get there. Or possibly they're trading first, then they're waiting, then you're trading, and so you're getting kind of doubly screwed over, just for being smart. And there are even worse things happening when if they are truly the primary market maker and they're making losses, they can run out the way of the market, so they can move the price and bankrupt you and kind of save themselves. And we saw this kind of thing happening last year. And I really doubt it's really just the one venue that's been properly investigated where that's happening.
Yeah, that is quite an ugly part of this trading. There is a lot of shadiness going on. Yeah.
The thing that we have to achieve here is build something that's better than traditional finance, not something that's worse.
Yeah. I know what you're saying. And what is also intriguing to me. The moment I saw, let's say, your plans, your roadmap, let's say, for bringing so many innovative products, so many innovative tradable products, like the Bitcoin VIX, right? Bitcoin VIX for the volatility, the sport futures, right? The sports futures, the securities futures, or the real estate, some like digital versions of rates, real estate investment trusts, or what else, like the entire ecosystem that the Globe is raising. Could you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I mean, so in the super short term, we've just done a bunch of IBOs and IEOs. The gate pool oversold by I think 30 million of demand for a couple 100K or something in 4 hours. So there's a little bit of afters for that. We're a few hours away from finishing off our public sale right now, which is happening on Balancer actually as we speak. There's definitely a bit of thoughtfulness right now, and we're actually talking to our community somewhat live, getting their thinking on this and making sure that we deal with that, right? Just because ETH fees are outrageous right now, people don't understand where things are going to be, and we have to listen to them. We have to do the right thing. Okay, let's look a little bit beyond today. Getting the mobile experience right is a really important thing. Lots of traders don't want to be on desktop. It's just not for them. That's just not how you want to interact with them. Interact with it. And so you probably saw there's a really big announcement between Globe and Republic. What we can say right now is that we're aggressively pursuing technological partnerships. And what I would observe is Republic is an incredibly popular mobile app with millions of users who pre-KYC'd, and Globe is a derivatives exchange. So I think you can kind of work out what we might be doing together, even though we can't talk too much about it. It's a great platform also on Republic to do an equity sale, which we've seen a lot of demand for as well. And that just gives people another type of investment class asset, another way that we can kind of partner together. We're fixing a few things actually this week on the mobile side, just making that better. I mean, it was flashing a bit too much. Things were just in the wrong place. The iPhone experience wasn't great. So we're tightening that up. Moving a little bit forwards, we're working on copy trading. If you saw the 3 hours announcement, you probably figure out that we're looking very, very carefully at COPE. We know COPE is a few weeks away, and so we're working out, well, can we help them out, or like what's the right way for us to partner there? But by the way, copy trading is sort of like investing in a hedge fund, but without having to pay a 2 and 20 and just opt in, right? None of this horrible paperwork, none of this usual pain, just instantly in. And I think that's just a really amazing way for you to get at that kind of algorithmic part of your portfolio. After that, I mean, every evening, like, at least if you're a sports fan, right? You sit down and you kind of watch Sports Center and you look at the league tables. and that tells you the current points. And right now, there's no futures market saying, well, what's the end of season table going to be? And the use of that is you can literally say, well, what does a financial market say is going to be the end of season table in basketball or in soccer or in baseball, or who's going to win the Super Bowl? And I think that's something people really want. That's going to be pretty amazing just to turn at the end of the day and see what the futures market says. That's something that we're building together. We do have a few partners who are kind of big liquidity providers in sports. We want to help unlock that. It's a little bit more complex from a regulatory perspective, but it's moving.
It's from Asia, if I'm not
mistaken.
Yeah,
there are a lot of players around Singapore, around Australia, that really, really want these things. And actually, a lot of the demand actually is from the businesses that run kind of sports books, because it gives them a place to hedge their exposure and helps them to actually give better prices to people that do want to bet on sports. And so rather than actually what we're doing by having sports futures markets is we're making it better for people that want to bet on sports. We're getting them a better deal, which I think is a great thing to kind of help push forwards in the world. We're working on the option side. So you probably saw one of the biggest volatility traders on Deribit is now a Globe partner. We know there's huge amounts of demand to go trade, for example, Polkadot options. We're just getting all that stuff set up and building the test nets and figure out when we're going to start unlocking all these things. We've been thinking a lot lately about moving to stablecoin or unified margin. I think there are some good models for how to do unified margin. The kind of most challenging thing is kind of marking all of these assets simultaneously fairly against one numeric, right? And that for many exchanges would just overload and break them. So the performance difference on Globe versus, Globe is above NASDAQ, right? So we can definitely handle more like that kind of load. But it's about just getting fair margin pricing for an extremely wide collection of assets that you might use as margin. We know also people, they want to look at their unrealized profits and say, well, okay, can I invest unrealized profits without having to pay fees to get out of the market? We think that's a really interesting thing for you to do. One of the best ways to go make customers rich is to give them good access to yield, right? So if you've got a position, you're up, 300% on Doge or something, it would be amazing if you could take that, withdraw some Polkadot, and then whack that into a Uniswap pool and get some yield on that. And that's something that we, I think we'll ship it sooner rather than later. I think that's a nice part of a wealth management product. Just something that is easy for people to do. We're taking no margin at all, right? If you put money in a bank account, they buy a riskless asset like a T-bill and they take half of that. That's a scam, frankly. But what we can do is just give you the full yield on that and help you to build your wealth. And that's something we really want to do, and we really want to make it easy to do, right? And not have you pay horrible gas fees every time you want to touch any of these assets. That's a really, really great efficiency, and that's actually us leveraging DeFi in the way that you should leverage DeFi to give you yields and give you the benefits of DeFi. We're working on
James, if I may very quickly, I would really want. I'm super curious about this wealth management products, right? Because we are talking about getting some loans and the yield farming and whatnot. What are your general plans? Let's say, what aside from the loans, I always imagine that there is going to be like a full ecosystem of the wealth management. And if that's right, could you tell me a little bit more about that?
So, building wealth management ecosystem has been really difficult historically. And the issue for this is that people don't really want the product. Even though they should have it, it's never enough of a pain point anyone bothers to go out there and get it. So it's basically something that someone that's already well capitalized has to go out and do for you.
You just want to get rich quick, right? That's what matters.
Right. People want to get rich quick, and that's cool, but you should also get rich slow, right? If it doesn't take you any additional hassle, the exchange should do the work, you don't do the work. All good. And so there are quite a few interesting ways of doing that. And one really harks back to the very, very earliest days of trading, when all these people in the pit, shouting, making markets. That's now all done by computers, and now that's to an extent done by AMMs, automated market makers, and they do a great job on that long tail of crypto assets. Who has any idea what price discovery is on those things? and just giving people convenience about unlocking those yields, because they're going to be pretty high, right? It's fundamentally risky, and there's huge gas fees for any one individual to do it. But if an extremely rich and insured exchange does that for you, it's incredibly efficient, right? The fee relative to the principal that we're putting in is basically zero. So that's one thing that we want to build out. Another is just trying to make insurance funds an investable asset. I think there are challenges to that, because they do have what they call left skew. They do sometimes just crater, and you need to have a good policy around how you deal with those kinds of events. But I think that makes sense as an asset. There will be more meaningful lending, and you basically get to be the lender. So rather than just put it directly into an AMM, doing the DeFi side of market making, you should be able to put it into a market maker that's doing the CeFi side of market making. And you as an individual, well, if you go to a market maker and say, "Hey, I've got $10,000, can I put it into your fund?" They will tell you no, probably less politely than that. But as an exchange, if you come to them with a lot of money and you say, I'm just helping to my customers to manage their wealth, could you guys take a bit of this? Then they're much more welcome to that. And that's really helping to kind of share around and reduce people's risk. I think there's a lot more to come, but those are the really big opportunities now to go do that.
Okay. I really want to touch the base as well, very quick, about the overall, let's say, community's approach, because this is out of question that Globe, as an exchange, just listens to the people, right? You keep claiming those requests from the people. You keep hearing them. You keep hearing their thoughts, what they think, what they want, what they expect you to do. So my question to you is, how you guys manage to keep up with that?
Badly sometimes. There's so many demands, right? You have to build a process about it. You have to be systematic. Right now we look at something like 120 ideas simultaneously posted by the community. We try to do an internal assessment about it. Sometimes the things are just such a no-brainer that they just fire through the whole process in less than a day, actually, and that's really amazing. We look at, does it align with our vision? We say, is this actually fundamentally good for the customer? And we look at the amount of time it's going to take to do it. And when those things align beautifully, i.e. there's great return on the amount of time it takes us to do it, and it's good for the customer and the community, and it's good for us, and it sort of satisfies where we think the industry should go, then we go do it pretty much. And it just gets prioritized out like that. So right now there's something like 120 items that just sit in a queue, and we just kind of execute through them.
Yeah. It's, again, listening to the people is probably what may decide about the overall success or failure. And we may like it or not. We may always feel that our products, whatever we do and put out to the people, may seem to be the best for us. But as a matter of fact, it's not enough to be the best in our eyes. It's not the best to have generated, the best product. What matters is, how we can sort of like, quote unquote, sell that to the people, right? Make them our clients, our clients by not really like just purchasing them and then just buying from some other, liquidity kind of like providers, again, using this metaphor, but it's about how we attract all of those investors, right? We can compete with having fancy products. We can compete with having the overall let's say strategy that relies on the speed that we take actions, right? How fast we develop and grow, so that we decide we set the trends. But from my trading point of view, what matters is definitely so that I see that the exchange just just takes care of the people. It's not about just feeding people with the good products, with the lending, with the wealth management, just like you said. That's not what people generally initially want, right? In the origins, what people want is so that they have a clean space to go and execute their trades, and best if they never lose, right? That is best. So I want to very quickly just ask about what amazing features Globe would propose to all the viewers, to all the potential traders, about the protection mechanism, because we touched about the protection against the whale dumping and whatnot. But tell me a little bit more about the overall protective side of that, the stop losses and beyond.
So we offer the usual kinds of risk management tools. We fundamentally have a model by which we kind of monitor very real time. Are the market makers doing what they should? Are they actually buying back and saving people when they're hitting stops? Rather than having a model where we're running away and we're the primary market maker, we're bankrupting them. So that change in market integrity, that just having the core functionality there, having just a straightforward way of doing that, having good educational materials really helps to achieve those things.
Yeah, the education.
I just want to jump in here and say that we do have a giveaway, $500 in Globe tokens. So there's a secret code somewhere on the screen there, and the link is in the description below. So make sure you join that. I have a question. Okay, so one of the I'm sure we all lived through the COVID crash, right? So on that day, right, what everybody experienced was they could not access their trades. Like maybe if they were in a losing position, they couldn't get out, right? Maybe it froze. So what do you think people are doing wrong? That why is that happening? And what do you think you can do differently to ensure that if that happens again, if we have, God forbid, another COVID crash, that's not going to happen?
I mean, it probably will at some point. There will be further crashes in the future. Give it at least 10 years, but it's going to happen.
Same here. Yeah. By the way, yeah.
I mean, how are you going to ensure that the freezing is not going to happen? On the exchange side, what steps can you take, as an exchange, and also as an investor myself? What can I do as well to protect myself from that kind of thing happening to me?
So there are a few things to unpick. Number one, did exchanges really break, or did they just pause because they were losing money and they had a problem with their internal desk? That's not out of the question, especially for the ones that are currently being investigated. Number two, part of it's having a truly scalable architecture. So a lot of exchanges right now are purely cloud, and cloud just saturates very, very quickly. It really can't handle very much. It's gradually getting better, but the demand for crypto is outpacing the rate at which cloud is improving. And so what we do, I think quite uniquely in the industry, is leverage the existing electronic forex backbone, right? This system that is proved reliable for something like 1,000 levels the intensity of crypto, and withstands that and doesn't break when that happens. And we add that on top. And that just gives a higher level of availability of the overall system, when the markets are getting crazy. And that's something that we're going to keep building on. And it's, I think, difficult for other people to switch to. What should you do as an individual when these things are happening? Find an exchange that's not broken, not trading against you. I can think of one around. Beyond that, I mean, the DeFi stuff might be helpful, but probably if everything's going crazy, the DeFi fees will be so big you won't be able to do anything either. You might think you can protect yourself by a couple of put options or calls, depending which way the market's going crazy. But to be honest with you, will the exchange even be able to deliver on those? Questionable, right? If you might think that's insurance, but the time when you actually really need the insurance, there might not actually be the solvency for it. So that's a problem. I mean, look, ultimately there is no such thing as portfolio insurance, and I don't really know if anyone's going to be able to do that. But people are going to be able to build exchanges that will work through periods of intensity and that will operate with integrity.
Okay, this is a good time actually to remind to everybody, so that you guys make sure to subscribe, leave a thumbs up and a comment for me or for James if you have any questions. But if you want to stay notified about all the upcoming webinars, just make sure to leave a subscription in there. It's all free. And guys, I really want to take this opportunity and take some of your questions. There are going to be some questions definitely popping up in the following minutes. But to start with, if there is a question from Mike C. Did you ever think that there is a risk that all the crypto society effort is enrolling the future market structure and make it bulletproof at a later stage? This is for your, this is the question for you, James, as a market expert. On the exchange side, you have to be a market expert. You have to know how all the mechanisms work. This is a question. I can also just later touch my point on that. But if you were to very briefly answer that question, if you may.
I'm sorry, I'm still trying to work out what it means.
Yeah. So the question most probably means that how are we going to make sure, in the future, right, that the crypto is still going to be tradable, that it's not going to be fully dominated by the whales, that it's not going to become centralized?
Okay. So a lot of it is going to hinge on bringing more people into crypto, right? There's a few different ways this can go. I think the way I see the world 5 to 10 years down the line is that, there's going to be a mix of government shitcoins. So Donald Trump, well, maybe Donald Trump gets back in whatever Biden shitcoin. She's shitcoin. It's going to vary country by country. And then there's kind of this economy that's decoupled from individual countries. And as that grows and as that gets larger and decouples further, the influence of whales will gradually decline. Right now, yeah, there are huge whales that move a lot of stuff, and that's to an extent a consequence of quite how quickly everything grew. So it needs time really for things to diffuse. Give it 3, 4, 5, 10 years. It's going to take a while. Patience, I think, is the real solution to that one.
Patience, yes. This is what we are all lacking, and it always, yeah, that is very right.
Maybe
James.
So I think about the US, right? Imagine you're in the bottom half of the population in the US. Try to use a bank. What happens? Well, if you've got less than $1,000, you're paying $20 a month just to be allowed to have a bank account. Every time you try to take money out, if you're taking $10 out, you're paying $3, 30% transaction fee to be able to access your cash. And so there's a huge class of people that could be better served by digital solutions, of being horribly, horribly underserved, even quite rich people in kind of global standards. And so to accelerate that diffusion, what it needs to do is actually offer a better solution than existing products that can be super mainstream. And that will help, evening out the whales. But again, the only thing you can do to accelerate is just to have better use case.
Yeah. I'm just thinking because there is an overall speaking of your recent announcements, recent updates, just following your Twitter, I can actually just very quickly share the screen if we.
I'm sneaking peeking it now just to see what we've got on there.
Yeah.
I don't think I've checked it since last night.
Yeah, no worries. I just need to add to the chat as well, to the screen. But just having so many of your recent GDT, balance liquidity, bootstrapping pool announcements, regarding all the releases, all the IDOs, all the partnerships with with Free Iris Capital. This all stands a big, let's say, big expansion, to the entire ecosystem of GlobeDX. So my question is, what are your upcoming plans? What are your upcoming plans with regards to, to adding all the new features?
What should give you an idea? Right, yeah. Pulling on big institutional traders like 3 Arrows, getting them set up, getting them providing liquidity and providing value to regular traders who want to be on the exchange. Building things that people want. So many people went to us and said, we need those perps right now. And we said, yes, sir. They're coming. Don't worry. They're being built as we speak. A lot of people said, well, we want a proper mobile experience. So we said, okay, well, let's go talk to Republic, who are already a partner of ours and have one of the best mobile apps out there with millions of people on it. And that's going to just improve the liquidity even more by kind of finding a meaningful way for us to partner technologically with them. The balance of pool itself, it was just a great way of having good price discovery, or it normally would have been. Unfortunately, right now, gas prices are so insane that, it's going cheap is probably how I've described it. But I mean, that's not a bad thing. It gets it in more people's hands, and it helps to grow the community, and it helps make people feel like they're a part of the journey. And that's fine.
That is very right approach. There is also another question from Raj. I'm not sure. This is actually a very good question. Is your aim at serving funds who can leverage your infrastructure? And there's a follow-up question. What's preventing Binance or Coinbase from just building out the same infrastructure or products?
All right, so let's start off with the first one. So a little bit what we're doing is getting new people into the market, and we think that's important. I think there was another question, how do we accelerate maturity of the stuff and make all these things safer? We'll bring more people in, and that's something that we're doing. So it's not the only people we serve. We serve regular traders like yourself and myself. But look, we need to bring institutions into crypto. It's happening, and someone needs to enable it. Secondly, look, it takes time to build infrastructure. If it was easy to build, then NASDAQ would have already built this. Binance would have already built this, and they haven't. It does take time to build. Offering these products, well, you need great market makers, and you may know who the best market makers are in these things, but go have a look who the Globe partners are, and you'll see them. So maybe someday they'll offer it as well. But certainly we're the first mover, and we can build a position that's going to be difficult to catch up with.
That is a fair approach. I'm also, being very realistic. I know and imagine that fighting, the competitors, who are big, who have already been kind of like settled, in a very, very strong ground, very, very dense ground, let's say. It's a very big challenge to fight those big players.
Yes and no. Like you have to look back on longer term, right? So there was when I was growing up in the 1990s, someone once said, "No one will ever take GeoCities. It's the biggest, best search engine out there, or biggest, best website out there." And now there's Facebook. Someone once said, "Yahoo, that's the best search engine ever. No one's ever going to catch up with that." There was once literally the question, well, how on earth can Facebook ever overtake MySpace? And as for crypto exchange, it wasn't that long ago that nobody thought anyone could ever overtake Mt. Gox. Go Google it. So instead of Yahoo, there are an awful lot of people that can't imagine how anyone could ever overtake Mt. Gox. Well, things change.
I remember 2017 Bittrex.
Yeah,
that was the top of the tops.
Right.
Nobody knows about them anymore.
Crypto is very generational. There are new generations of people coming into crypto, and the places where they land determine who is really going to win in the longer run, right? And we're in the middle of a sort of a third or fourth wave, depending quite how you want to enumerate them. And a huge amount of people in this wave are landing on Globe. And there are a huge amount of people that trust and believe in it and support the project. And that's something difficult for the existing incumbents to take away.
Okay. It does sound like a good future that is being planned for me as a trader. And I mean, the presence, the future regarding, there is definitely some rotation in the market, just like you said. We are generational market. Every cycle, it seems to be completely different than the prior one. And there is a completely different, I call it market structure, the demographics, right? The average age of an investor, the overall, let's say, institutionalization of the entire space. Right now, we are having so many institutions, which would never be the case back in 2017, because we would not have enough of regulatory, just infrastructure, let's say, or the exchanges themselves.
Exactly,
right?
No infrastructure for it. It was a shit show.
Exactly. So right now, being kind of like more advanced, more mature as the entire market, it's definitely it definitely feels good to be in that. That they've been experiencing all the amazing progress. And ladies and gentlemen, I definitely want to make sure that we appreciate the generosity, the time, the experience that James has been sharing with us for the past 40 minutes. I also want to make sure that if you have some of your last questions, just feel free to drop them just below in the chat. Make sure to subscribe, again, leave a thumbs up and like and share this video with your friends, because this is definitely going to kick off the YouTube algos for us and help us get so much more of this amazing content, also featuring Globe Exchange and James West. And before we disconnect, because we definitely know how busy you are, James, are there some final conclusions about the plans, about the upcoming future, about the upcoming days, weeks that we as traders should be aware of with regards to Globe Derivative Exchange?
Yeah, when can I trade? I want to start trading, man. When?
We'll let you know soon. Look, we'll let you know soon. Don't worry about that one. I mean, one thing everyone wants to know is when the big centralized exchange listings are going to drop. And the fact is, the bigger the centralized exchange is, the more they only want to announce in the last minute, and it's all going to be very dramatic and huge emotional cycle around that, and that's just how they want it to be. So that's coming. That's going to be, I think, 12 hours before the end of the sale. Look, after that, there's the volatility stuff with 3 hours. There's the mobile stuff with Republic. Yeah, there's a lot coming up in the short term, and I think there's even more exciting things coming up in the longer term.
Okay, that definitely sounds intriguing. So, so there is last question that we're going to take from Raj as well. How contingent is onboarding institutions on being able to open up trading to the US?
That's a really good one. Actually, so there's a misunderstanding about US institutions, and the open secret is that they are in crypto. People think that they're not, but they just have offices around the world, and they have entities outside of the US. And yeah, okay, the HQ's in Chicago, or HQ's next to the Hudson River, or the HQ's wherever else, but they have entities around the world, right? And all of these people have, equity stake or a token stake or whatever in the exchange, and they're very excited to already be here, frankly, by and large. I think opening up the rest of trading on the US, or opening up to the US consumer, is more challenging. Most likely, in the short term, that will happen through essentially a regulated partner that will route the flow and essentially white label. I mean, the trade will happen on Globe, but you'll think you're trading on US thing, which doesn't have the Globe branding on it. But that's where your trade will go. So you'll probably have to pay an additional fee for that brokerage service. I think that's probably how it's going to have to work in the shorter run, just because of the regulatory complexity there. But there just is a huge amount of pressure on the US right now, as they're being sort of overtaken by China as the world's greatest empire. And crypto is such a huge part of how that's happening and how the two are disentangling their economies. That the US may have to just give up and say, okay, we're going to join a global economy, and we're not going to try to cut ourselves off anymore and keep imagining we're number one when we're actually number two behind China. So we'll see. It depends how quickly they want to accept that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is a big misconception then, because I always imagine, it's very.
I can see on a state level that maybe Florida will open up to the rest of the world first, and I think there's a lot of traders I hear who are going to Puerto Rico, and maybe it's okay from there, or a lot who are just going to go to Canada, and maybe it's a better tax regime in Canada. So there is a bit of an exodus from the US. There'll be, I think, maybe an internal reclassification, and then there'll be probably a regulated gateway, which will go from this, super protectionist insulation, pretend like the rest of the world doesn't exist thing, into this building massive blossoming global economy.
That does sound like a plan. That does sound like a plan, definitely.
We're working with the institutional guys who are already here. The question is just, how do we figure out the regulatory side of the retail?
That is very right. Ladies and gentlemen, I definitely, again, want to one more time appreciate and thank to James West, the CEO of GlobeDX, for his generosity. And if you appreciate it, for the very last time, everybody, make sure to leave a kind comment, to put your thumbs up if you enjoyed what James has been sharing with you. And James, on my behalf, on behalf of the entire Birb Nest community, on behalf of all the viewers, I definitely want to thank you for coming over to today's very show of the 14-day Free Trading Congress. And long live GlobeDX.
Good to talk, guys, and thank you for all the questions. Much appreciated. Take care, everyone.
Take care. Bye-bye.